Good afternoon, everyone. Breaking news out of Minneapolis. A school bus driver was just shot, and authorities say 3 students were on the bus at the time. The Minneapolis Police Department says that shooting happened around 2:15. Officers found the driver, who was shot in the head, and helped until paramedics arrived and drove him to a hospital. None of the children, all under the age of 10, were hurt. Officers dropped them off at their homes. They say the driver's injuries did not appear to be life-threatening. Investigators are searching for suspects. So far, no arrests have been made. We have new information on a story we've been following since last night. We were the first crew on scene at a PetroServe gas station in South Fargo around 8 o'clock for a disturbance. Officers say they found Nathaniel Graywind holding a sharp object in the store. They also learned that he hit 2 vehicles in the store's parking lot before he went outside to hit other vehicles with the sharp object. Police say Graywind appeared to have cuts on his hand and was taken to a hospital for his injuries. One witness suffered minor cuts due to shattered glass from a vehicle. Graywind was arrested for terrorizing, reckless endangerment, and DUI. Well, we saw a dusting of snow today, but tomorrow's forecast is a bit of a mixed bag, and our weather team has just designated it as a first alert weather day. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson for the latest. Hutch.
Thanks so much, Stacy. As we go through today's challenges, at the snow and the cold air, it brought those falling temperatures after yesterday's nearly 40-degree weather. Caused some very icy conditions for many of us, and we still see these little streams of snow. I want to caution you, this showing like Grand Forks to Fargo. We're seeing some flakes, as you saw on the sky cam. Crookston seeing some flakes, but there is some activity going on in central Minnesota as well. The radar just shoots over the top of it. Here's a look at road conditions where you see the pinks there, snow-covered roads. Basically, in much of western Minnesota where you see the pinks here, we do have concerns, and along the northern tier, that also is the case. Temperatures have fallen into the teens. We are a little warmer in the James River Valley Oaks. You have 25 degrees. Let's talk about tonight's planner real quickly, and then we'll touch on tomorrow's wild weather. Tonight, temperatures will be falling for a while. Our snow chances continue here in the next couple of hours. Then we'll see that wind down. So watch for slippery roads. That will continue. So overnight, we'll see it get cold. Tomorrow, we're going to really warm up, and we're going to have a little bit of everything. There's going to be wind. There's going to be snow. There's going to be rain. Then it warms up, and then it turns cold again. We're going to go through hour-by-hour details on all of that, but some of us will have measurable snow and very tricky travel conditions. That's why it is a first alert weather day.
All right. Thanks so much, Hutch. One man is dead after an accident at the 3M plant in Alexandria. Officials say last night a worker got caught in machinery during an overnight shift. They haven't released his name. The Minnesota Occupational Safety and Health Administration is investigating how he became trapped. New data shows the U.S. has seen a sharp increase in violent crime over the past 2 years. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle held news conferences today to discuss varying solutions to the spike, while experts say there's no one solution to bring down the trend. Skylar Henry has more from Capitol Hill.
This week, police in Miami, Florida responded to a tragic scene. A father shot and killed his 2 children before turning the gun on himself. While in Los Angeles, the family of Ricardo Trujillo Ramirez tearfully offered a reward in hopes of finding the person who shot and killed the 16-year-old last September.
The last few months have been heartbreaking.
It's part of a nationwide spike in violent crime. A recent report from the Council on Criminal Justice showed homicides in major American cities ticked up in 2021, with a 5% increase from 2020 and, more disturbingly, a 44% increase over 2019.
It's not a simple problem, and we can't explain it simply.
George Washington University professor Dr. Fran Buntman says there's no single solution to help reduce the trend, even as the Justice Department takes new steps to stop the flow of illegal guns and ghost guns, which are assembled using parts created by 3D printing technology.
You can have gun rights without having society awash in guns. But guns are not the only problem.
The uptick in violent crime has also become a campaign issue ahead of November's midterm elections to decide control of Congress.
The crime that we are seeing surging across this country is a direct result of Democrats' soft-on-crime policies.
In dueling news conferences Wednesday, Senate Republicans and House Democrats were split on the root causes of violence.
I don't think you've heard anybody here suggest that we should be soft on crime. It starts with crime prevention.
But both sides agreed that local police departments need more resources. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Florida Congresswoman Val Demings, who is the former Orlando police chief, is pushing her bipartisan bill, the Victim Act, to fund the hiring and training of more detectives to investigate gun violence. President Biden has also called on Congress to approve $500 million in new funding for community policing and violence intervention programs. Protests over vaccine mandates in Canada continue to cause blockades at the U.S. border. This is day 2 of a shutdown on a bridge in Detroit, carrying about a quarter of American trade with Canada. Not only are protesters expecting to continue their convoy, there are now signs that similar protests could start up in the U.S.
We're going to sit here as long as it takes. The problem is they don't want to talk to us right now.
With the streets blocked, some businesses in Ottawa are closed, and just about the only supplies coming in are from volunteers. This week, several provinces announced plans to roll back some or all precautions. Alberta, Canada's most conservative province, dropped its vaccine passport for places like restaurants immediately and is getting rid of mask mandates at the end of this month. Johnson & Johnson has temporarily stopped production on its COVID-19 vaccine. The New York Times reports the drug maker quietly shut down operations last year at a plant in the Netherlands where the doses were manufactured. A spokesperson said the company has millions of vaccine doses in inventory and it will continue to serve developing nations. The First Lady and U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services greeted frontline healthcare workers in the Twin Cities today. They met with staff from Abbott Northwestern Hospital and members of a federal COVID-19 surge response team. They also made a stop at the University of Minnesota to host a listening session and to highlight the American Rescue Plan's investments in childcare. Drew Wrigley was sworn in as North Dakota's next Attorney General. Wrigley was appointed by Governor Doug Burgum to serve out the rest of Wayne Stenjum's term, which ends this year. When Stenjum announced his retirement in December, Wrigley announced soon after that he'd run for the office. He's the only person who has declared his candidacy. Wrigley is a Republican who was appointed by the U.S. Attorney twice by Presidents Bush and Trump. He also served as Lieutenant Governor under former Governor Jack Dalrymple. Some Democratic senators today are calling for suspending the federal gas tax for the remainder of the year to help consumers struggling with rising fuel prices. The legislation could prove popular during an election year in which the average price of gas is now about $3.45 a gallon, and it could go higher during peak driving season. That's according to AAA. The federal gas tax has remained at 18.4 cents per gallon since 1993. The bill would require the Treasury Department to monitor whether oil and gas companies are passing along the saving to consumers, and it would encourage the department's secretary to take action if they don't. Legislation introduced last year in the House has some support from Republicans. It seeks to suspend the gas tax until all emergency health orders related to the pandemic are lifted or for 6 months after the bill is enacted into law, whichever is longer. One of the most essential tools in agriculture, fertilizer, makes up 15% of all farming costs in the U.S., according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. But since September of 2020, the cost of fertilizer nationwide has spiked 300% as demand for ingredients like ammonia and nitrogen have soared. Farmers have tried switching to alternative fertilizers, but demand is high, making the surge in cost even worse. If prices don't drop soon, many in the ag world are afraid that smaller farms won't be able to survive.
It's just hard on all the long-time farmers, the family farmers. They can't compete with the huge farms. They get a lot of the government subsidies, things like that.
Some farmers are also concerned the fire that destroyed a fertilizer plant in North Carolina last week could impact the supply chain. Team Schuster competed in the Olympics this morning, and friends of family of the Duluth team threw a watch party to root for their hometown athletes. The American men's curling team is made up of 3 Minnesota natives and a Wisconsin man. The U.S. men's curling team defeated the Russian Olympic Committee 6-5 earlier today. They'll take on Sweden tomorrow in a rematch of the 2018 gold medal game. The Russian Olympic Committee is in first place with 11 medals now. Norway and Austria each have 10. Germany bumped Canada for the number 4 spot this afternoon, and the U.S. has 7 medals right now with 1 gold.